So this is the instance which we are using from few days back. This is the one instance I have connected to it. So let us install Docker here. If you run the Docker command, you will see that command not found. Let's install Docker here using yum install Docker. This will help us install Docker. So Docker is installed. Now you can see the Docker version. You can see, yes, Docker is installed, but Docker is not running. Is the Docker daemon running? We have installed it. Let's start Docker using systemctl start Docker. Right, Docker might have started. We can check the status. That's all. It's active and running. So Docker is installed and running. Now let's run some Docker commands. First, most basic command. Let's check the Docker images available on this particular machine using the command Docker images. Docker images command will list the Docker images present in this particular host. Here, which is the host? This particular EC2 instance is nothing but the Docker host. Docker host is nothing but a virtual machine or a server where Docker is installed and running. So this is the Docker host. This is the machine where we have installed Docker. So if you want to check the Docker images available on this machine, Docker images command will help you do that. So see, when I run Docker images, it was showing like the header, but there were no images. We just installed Docker, right? There were no images present on this particular Docker host, or else on the local machine, we don't have Docker images. All right, fine. There were no Docker images. Let's say I want to run some Docker image. If you can recollect and memorize the concepts we discussed yesterday, like we were talking about, there is something called Docker file, right? The fundamental or the basic unit from which, I mean, by building which you get a Docker image. You run this to have a Docker container, right? This is the formula we have learned yesterday. Now let's try to implement or let's try to see this with a practice. So I want to create a container. You have to create a container means run a Docker image. Okay, I will run a Docker image using the command docker run and some image name. Which image name? I would like to use some base image available. The image name is hello world, right? So this is some image available on Docker app. This is like a base image or else a sample image, you can say, a basic or a sample image. And when you run this, it will create a container and it will also show you some welcome message so that you can understand, okay, my Docker is working fine. Just to do that kind of minimal testing, after installing Docker, we'll just run the sample image or a basic image. So I'm going to run this. But is this Hello World image available locally on my machine? Is it available on this Docker host?
No.
So it's not available. Then what happens if I run this? What happens if I run this command? What do you think will happen? Okay, let's see. Let's run this Docker run Hello World. See, it was saying unable to find this image locally because we don't have images as of now. It could not find this image. Means what it did, firstly, it searched locally, right? As it could not find locally, it was pulling from the library Hello World and pull complete. It has pulled from some library. Okay, and then it was saying some means it was printing this welcome message. Okay, fine. First, it searched locally. It could not find it, so it has searched on the library. What is that actually? That's nothing but the Docker Hub, the default registry or the public registry we were talking about, hub.docker.com. Right? You can search here for any images. Yesterday I told you, right? This is the Docker Hub where you have all the images available. There were so many official images created and managed by Docker. They were all available here. So you can see that Docker official tag. This tag indicates, yes, this is officially created and maintained by Docker. Okay, if you see here, it was compatible with these operating systems, and also when you just go here, it will give you something like tags and all. What is tag and all, we'll discuss a little later. So yeah, what it is doing, it was searching locally. If it doesn't find locally, it was going to Docker Hub, pulling this image from Docker Hub and running that image. And also, whenever it creates a container, it was displaying some welcome message. Means this image was made in such a way that it will display some welcome message like this, right? Okay, fine. So it has pulled the image. So now if I do the Docker images list, yes, you have got the hello world image and it should create a container. How to see the containers? Docker PS. Docker PS will list all the running containers. See, it was not listed means it's not running. If you want to see all the containers, including running and stopped also, Docker PS -a. See, now you can see the container. Okay, it has got exited 2 minutes ago. Right? Got it, everyone? So container is created but stopped. Why it was stopped, that's a different part. We'll discuss again. So it has created a container. So whenever you run an image, it has created a container and it was displaying some welcome message because that's how that image was made. The basic functionality of that image means it will display some welcome message. What if I run this again? Yeah, will it download again? See, it was not downloading again because already it has got the image. Docker host has the image. So it was just running a container. It might have created one more container, Docker PS-A. See, another container, 12 seconds ago it was created. See, every container will have this alphanumeric ID assigned. And because it's difficult to remember this alphanumeric ID, a random name also will be assigned by Docker daemon, like Confident, Tesla, Angry, Vishweshwaraya, and so on. So as many number of times you run the same image, those many number of containers will be created. Right? I'll run again. Another container. But each time a random name will be assigned to the container. If you want to give your own name to the container, yes, name, let's say my container. Right? This name flag will help you assign your own name to the container. If you see the list, see now, a new container created 3 seconds ago, and it was this name was my container. Understood, everyone? So basically, whenever you run, what happens whenever you run an image, it will search for the image on the Docker host first. If it's not available, it will go to the Docker Hub and pull the image and then create a container. So Docker run basically will also pull the image from Docker Hub if it is not available locally. That's the point you have to understand, right? Um, Yeah. And then you might be having a question, okay, like how come it was pulling from this Docker Hub, right? We did not connect to it. How was this pulling from the Docker Hub? See, you don't need to provide any credentials or do authentication to pull the images from Docker Hub, particularly the public images. This was a public image, right? So you don't need to provide any authentication and you don't need to do any connection because Docker Hub is a part of Docker architecture. Now let's talk about this Docker architecture. Right? So what was this Docker architecture? See, whenever you install Docker, there were three components like in the Docker architecture, like Docker client, Docker host, and registry. Registry is a part of a Docker architecture. This is about the default registry, Docker Hub. There were also other registries. We'll discuss about them as well. So, but this is the default registry, Docker Hub, the public registry. See, Docker client, Docker host. Docker host is nothing but the machine, the server where you are installing Docker. Whenever you install Docker, Docker engine or Docker daemon will be installed, right? Which is responsible for all the tasks. Then what is Docker client? Docker client is nothing but a way, means which provides a way or else which provides an approach to interact with a Docker host. Means you can imagine, you can consider it like a Docker client, I mean the terminal where you are running the commands. That's nothing but the Docker client here. Means a terminal where you write these Docker commands like Docker build, Docker pull, Docker run, whatever commands you write, right? They will be reaching or they will be executed via Docker daemon, right? Whenever you run Docker run, it goes to the Docker daemon. Docker daemon, what it will do, see here. See this three lines were different. This is the third one. So Docker daemon will search locally, right? If it is available locally, it will start a container, right? If it is not available, then it will go to the registry, pull the image. See, there is also separate Docker pull. Docker pull means it will just download. So Docker pull, what it will do, it will pull from the registry and put the image in the Docker host. So every command, whatever commands you run, the terminal which provides you a way to interact with the Docker host is called Docker client, right? So you write the command, this command goes to the Docker daemon performs actual task. Same is the case with the registry. Registry is the default component in the Docker architecture. You don't need to do any connections for it. A Docker daemon can directly interact with a Docker registry through HTTPS and REST API protocol, right? So that's why whenever you do Docker run, it was pulling from this registry. That's all, simple architecture. So whenever you install Docker, you get these two components installed, Docker client and Docker host, a default connection to the default Docker registry called Docker Hub. Any questions? Am I clear till this much?
Yes, Preeti.
Yes, Preeti.
Is that any specific port the Docker daemon communicate to the Docker hub?
We don't do any configurations for it. Any configurations related to Docker will be available in the file called docker.json. I'll show you in some time. There you can configure your default registries and all. So this is how you can search here. Similarly, you can also search, let's say I need something else, some other image if you need, you can also search on the Docker Hub. Let's say I need some image related to Ubuntu. Right, so many images related to Ubuntu. This is the official one. This is also official one with WebSphere Liberty. What it has and all, if you click and read, you get all the information about that particular image. So you can search this way, or else you can also search here. Right? So this is how you can search. And if you search here, you can notice here the name of the image, some description about the image, the stars and the ratings. Here, see, every image has got how many downloads, a kind of rating and all. So depending on that reviews and the ratings, you can choose your image. Always prefer the official images, right? Wherever possible, rather than the unofficial images. These are verified publishers. There will be unofficial images also. So always choose the official ones. Most trustworthy images. So that's one thing. And also if it's an official, you see the tag as okay. For non-official images, you are not seeing that tag, right? Also, if you closely notice here the image name is Ubuntu. And somewhere this image name is Ubuntu/Nginx, Ubuntu/MySQL, Ubuntu/Prometheus, means Ubuntu maybe with Prometheus, Ubuntu with .NET, whatever. But like, how is this naming convention? How to interpret, how to understand this name, right? like Ubuntu slash and what is this one and what is this one, which is the actual image name, right? So to understand this naming convention, to interpret this properly, you need to understand how the images were stored, like the hierarchy, how the images were stored. So this is very important so that you can understand the image name and the location, everything. So let's try to understand this. See, we discussed like images will be stored in some place called registry, right? Registry is nothing but like now we were talking about default registry, Docker Hub, public registry. So yes, images were stored on registry, but actually in the registry, they were stored inside something called repositories. What are these repositories? See, repositories you can consider like a folders to store like images. Meaning, let's suppose I have so many images related to Ubuntu. I can have a repository called Ubuntu. Okay, in that repository, I may have so many images. How do I define them? Like with a tag names, with something or like it is Ubuntu 16. I have Ubuntu 16. I have Ubuntu 20. I have Ubuntu with Java. So many images I have. Meaning, in the registry, your images will be stored in the repositories in the form of tags. Right? So this is the hierarchy how images were stored. Registry, inside the registry you'll have repository. Repository is like a folder to store, to organize to the like images. So maybe I may have a repository called Ubuntu with all the tags, like 3 tags I'm having, means 3 images. So this is the hierarchy how images are stored. If that is the case, like what is your image name? Image name would be the registry name, then repository name, colon tag name. That's the format of an official image name. For an official registry, username. I may have my own repository. I may have my own account. So username, repository, tag name. This is the format for unofficial ones. Unofficial ones we'll discuss a while
Can you
later.
please come back on the concept of tag? What exactly is tag, you said?
Let's say tag is the image name, actual image name. This is the tag.
Okay.
To identify the image name properly, image properly, we put this name. Like generally, we give tag names as versions or else which gives a clue
Correct.
about what
Versions
is
is something
inside
which
that
came to
image.
my mind. Okay.
So yeah, let's talk about the format of official image. Registry, repository, and the tag name. So that's why when you just said hello world, let's talk about hello world. We just say hello world, we did not tell this format, right? We simply said hello world. Meaning, if you did not, or if you do not mention this registry name, then by default it's called Docker Hub. If you do not mention this tag name, by default it will be considered as latest. Means what will be this image name actually? Docker.io slash hello world colon latest. That's the image name. If tag is latest, you don't need to mention it. If registry is Docker Hub, you don't need to mention it. Simply mention the repo name. Means hello world is the repo name. Just see here. See here repository. You see hello world as repository, tag as the latest. Making sense, everyone? Yeah, that's how you got the image name. Same is the case with Ubuntu. I just said Ubuntu means it will be prefixed by default with the registry address, Docker Hub. If you don't mention tag name means tag latest. Generally, all the images will have tag latest. Okay, latest means it will pull the image whichever having the latest tag. Right? So that's a naming convention. Now, if you just say Docker pull Ubuntu, it will pull Ubuntu with the latest tag. Let's see. Docker pull Ubuntu. See, using this pull means, by the way, what is pull? Pull will just download the image. Okay, it will not start a container. Right? So it will just say it has just downloaded. See, docker.io prefix with the Docker registry address. And if you now see the image list, see here, Ubuntu latest tag, right? So, but container will not be created because I just said Docker pull. Docker pull will just download the image. That's all. A container will not be created. Whereas Docker run, first it will search locally. If it's not there, it will also pull and then start a container. Right? So this is the hierarchy like registry, repository, and tags. Now let me show you something. See, on this Docker Hub, you can create a free account. Okay, like on GitHub, you just created a free account. You can create a free account. Free account is required only if you want to push back the images and store the images. Okay, if you don't want to push, only pull, you don't need an account. So I have already created the account. See, you will get some username and password. Now, yeah, I can have my own repository. See here, go to the repositories. See how many repositories I have? Can anyone help me out?
Only one as a
Only
DevOps
one.
trainer.
One repository. See, this is the username. See here, unofficial images,
There are four
registry,
repositories.
username, repository, tag name. So this is the username. Four
Username is
repositories I have
four
got.
repositories. Correct.
All the three are public. One is private repository. This is a free account. In a free account, you can create one private repository. One private repository means you can restrict who will download and push back. Right? Also, if you create one more repository, see, you can create only public because I already have created one private repository. I have already used one private repository. If you want to get more, go for the paid accounts. See? Okay, we don't need it. One private repository is enough to check back. And I don't want to create a repository. Let me just take you to some repository. So now in this repository, how many images I have? How many Docker images do?
2 images.
2 images. Like I told you, right? Tags are nothing but your actual image names, right? So what is this image name? Username, repository name, colon tag name. See, registry name is not there means Docker Hub by default. See, it gives you the naming convention. Understood, everyone? I'm writing this again. See, for unofficial images, registry, username, repository, tag name. Right? If it is official, no need of username. So registry, repository, tag name. That's only the difference. So here, this is the image name, right? And this is a public repository. I can pull, anyone can pull the image from here. I would like to pull this one, my image. See how many images were there in this repository? 5. 5 images. Let me pull some image. This is the image name. Just come here. Sorry, 5. See, 7 tags. Repository contains 7 tags. 7 images were there. Okay, see, these are all the images. Okay, I would like to pull something here. My image. Okay, so how do you pull the image? Just like we pulled Ubuntu, but this time username. Registry name I'm not writing means by default it will search in the Docker Hub. My image and the tag. What is the tag we have? KV3. It's a public registry. Anyone can pull. It will not ask for any credentials or authentication. Right? So let's see the list. We have got the new image. Just analyze it. Do you see that? The username, repository name. Yeah. So
Yes.
this is your image. And see, this is the hierarchy how images are stored, and also explicitly the image name gives the location of the image. Means you will know which account it is, right? This is the account name, username. It will tell you which repository it is present. So it will explicitly tell you the location of the image, like where the image is stored. Okay, let's suppose I want to push back something here, right? I want to push some image. So let me show you. Let's suppose I want to push this hello world. Okay, Docker push hello world. Where does this image go if I do this Docker push hello world?
To Docker Hub.
To Docker Hub, and I'm not mentioning any username, right? See, request to the resource denied means it was trying to push to this public repository. I don't have access to this public repository. Hello world is not my own repository. I cannot push it. But let's say I just want to create a copy of this image and push into my own account, right? So how to create a copy of the same image with a different name? Why a different name? Because see, if you want to push the image into your account, the image should have this format: username, some repository name, right? That's how it should be. Then only when you push it goes to your account. Image name explicitly tells you the location of the image, or else the path of the image where it was, like the username, the repository name and all. But when I do hello world, see, it was trying to push here. I don't have access to it. Means I would like to create a copy of this. How to create a copy of this with a different name? Docker tag command. Docker tag hello world. The format what you want, I want to push into my own account. So username. Also, I want to push into the same repository called my image. As which tag I would like to put a tag as hello. Right? Means I'm renaming or else creating a copy of the same image with this name. Why only this name? I'm giving a proper name format so that I can push into my account. Now, if you do Docker images, see a new image is there. So if I push this, where does it go? I have given the complete path where it should go. It will go into my account, my image as a hello tag. Just see here, do we have anything with the hello tag and this repository? Right? Nothing. Correct? It doesn't have anything. So yeah, let's try to push this. Also, you cannot push this without tagging because you should have this image first of all locally. Now, it will ask for authentication. For push, you need an authentication. See, requested access to the resource is denied. I have access to this, so I can do Docker login. It will prompt for the username and also for the password. Right? So login succeeded. See, your credentials will be stored in this path. There will be a default directory called .docker, a hidden directory, config.json. So yeah, credentials will be stored there and Docker login succeeded. Now if you try to push, it should create a new tag in the same repository. Right? It says the push happened. Let's see. Yeah, do you see here? Last pushed in 3 minutes, right? So push was successful. Got it, everyone? So that's how you can push and pull the images. So I have got these images. This is nothing but the copy of the original Hello World image, and I have pushed into my account. Let's say I want to push into some other repository. Can you help me doing it? How to do that? Let's say I want to push into deploy repository. How to do that? Can I do this? Where does it go if I do this? I want to push this image to deploy repository. Can I do this?
Yeah, we can do. We can
My
take copy.
image.
We can take another copy and we can push to that.
Exactly. Directly, if you do this, see, I just changed the repository name. See, it is not there locally. First of all, you should have that image. I don't have this image, right? DevOps trainer deploy. Do I have it? I don't have it. How do you push that? So I will tag it. Tag old image name. Okay, this is the one I would like to have a copy of with this repository name. So another image will be created with this name, a copy. Now, if I push this, see, it was created a copy. Now, if I push this, yes, it goes to deploy repository. Understood the tag command, everyone? Docker push. Okay, see, here is a, see, I told you like image name explicitly tells you the path of it, like where is the location of this image. This is the username, this is the repository. Already we did Docker login only once. You have to do Docker login. Now, if you want, you can push to other account also. You have to put that a username and then it will prompt for login again. You can push to any other account as well. So now it might have pushed to this this one. Yeah. See, hello in 3 minutes. This pushed in 3 minutes. See, if you keep the cursor, it will give you the time when it was pushed. July 18th, 8:06 a.m. Right? So that's how you work with a push-pull Docker Hub. Any questions? So, yeah. So that's a registry. You have got your images stored in the registry. Inside the registry, you'll have repositories. Inside the repositories, they'll be stored in the form of tags. And the default registry we were using is Docker Hub. Right? If you store in Docker Hub, yeah, if you store it as public, anyone can pull the images and all. But in Docker Hub also, you have a private accounts, right? Or a paid accounts. Paid accounts where you can have create private repositories so that the pull and push can be controlled, right? So that's how you can go with the paid accounts. But still, companies may not be going to use this Docker Hub at times because even though it's a paid account, still they may have some norms not to put their images on the Docker Hub public platform, right? They may have certain security norms where they cannot store their images on Docker Hub, particularly banking, insurance kind of domains, right? So they may have their own registries called as private registries, right? Yes, we can have our own registries, or there were also private registries available where images can be stored. Some of the examples of private registry is ECR, right? Elastic Container Registry on AWS. This serves like a private registry. Nexus also serves like a private registry where images can be stored, right? So whether it is stored in a private registry or a public registry called Docker Hub, the way you pull, the way you push the concept, everything is same. The naming convention hierarchy is also same. Here you don't write registry name means by default it's considered, right? But in case of private registries, writing that registry name is very much mandatory, right? Then only it knows to which location it goes. If you don't mention the registry name by default, it prefers to go to Docker Hub. But if you want to put it into some particular registry like ECR, definitely you have to prefix your image with that registry address, right? We'll also do the hands-on on it. Okay, I'll show you this ECR private registry.
Preeti, are these tools customized basis on for the means specific customers, Jenkins or this is like Docker, basis on their requirement? Means any kind of
No,
customization being done separately for them?
no, these are open source tools. Those are not
Yeah.
customized for anyone.
Okay.
You have to write the registry address before you pull. That's all. There's no customization. Default is Docker Hub. If you want to pull from ECR, you have to prefix that image name. That's all you have to do,
Okay, thanks.
right? So we have seen Docker Hub. Let's see private registry called ECR. Good to go? Yeah. See, till now we were using only EC2 service, right? Now let's see ECR. Like this, we'll be stepping into each service in AWS. There were hundreds of services. You can search in here, or else you can just see the service list here. See here, services, if you click, so many hundreds of services. It's not that you have to learn all of them, right? It depends. You might be using a handful of them. No one uses all of them. It depends on which projects you are working on. It all depends. See, so many machine learning tools related to robotics, satellite. We don't use all of this, right? So many services are there. You can search here, or else you can search, you can go here and look into them. Most recently used one can be visited here, or else you just search here as ECR. The Elastic Container Registry, fully managed Docker container registry to share, deploy container software. So go to this registry. Okay, get started to create a repository. See, it was asking to create a repository. I'm going to create a private repository. Okay, give some name like a repo1. Okay, that's all for now. We don't need scan. We are not doing any scan and all. So just create a repository. Okay, repository is good. This is the repository name. Do you see that? It's prefixed with the registry address. This is the registry address. Actually, this 312 will be the account ID and whatever it is, right? This is your registry address. Repository name. Okay, where are the images? Just go here. No images because we didn't push anything, right? So let's suppose, okay, I want to push some image here, right? You can use AWS CLI. What is AWS CLI? Anyone have used or any idea? Okay. See,
Command line
AWS CLI,
interface.
Command line.
command line
Interface.
interface for
Yeah.
AWS. Like
AWS,
whatever
yes.
we are doing from AWS console, like we are creating EC2 instances here, we were creating ECR, later we'll be creating EKS clusters and so on, whatever it is. Whatever you do from this console, you can do from the CLI of AWS. There were separate commands also for it. It's very easy to use. Okay, maybe when we get some chance on it, I'll show you. So through this, you can do it. So now here, I want to push from my machine. So you can use AWS CLI to push some images here. So firstly, you have to install this AWS CLI. Okay, it's just like any zip file you have to install, download the zip file and install it. It's very simple. Particularly for EC2 instances, you don't need to install it separately. Okay, you already have it. But let's say you are doing it from any other machine, from your laptop, you have to install it. See, I don't need to install it here because it's a EC2 instance. It comes by default. Okay, fine, I have got it. Now I want to push some image here. Okay, so to push some image, if you remember, we did Docker login. Do you remember that? Some time back we did Docker login, authenticating with existing credentials. We placed our username and password. That's for Docker Hub, right? Like I told you, your credentials will be here in the config.json. See? Okay, so you are authenticated to Docker Hub. I need to authenticate to this ECR also. Like, how do you do that? For this, you can run a command called AWS configure. Means to authenticate to a particular account. You may be pushing to some other AWS account also, right? So you need to authenticate to whatever account you want to push through the command called AWS configure. Say it's asking for some access key and secret access key. This access key and secret key provide you authentication to a particular AWS account through the CLI. Okay, so how do you get those access key and secret key? You can just go to your account, search here for security credentials. Go to security credentials. This is very important and this should be very confidential. You cannot leave them on some social networks or public domains and all. If you push them on public domain like GitHub and all, it will throw vulnerability checks. You should be very careful using it. So if you scroll down here, yeah, see, you can create, do you see this? Create a secret access key. You can create a secret access key. This is the access ID. And where is the secret access key? It will be downloaded for the first time. Okay, just let's click this, create access key. See, it will ask you whether you want to create an access key. Yes, I understand creating access key. I'm working as a root. Okay, you have to use other IAM users. We'll discuss that later. That's why it's giving me warning. But anyway, I'm doing with the root. So I want to create one. When you create it, see, this is your secret access key. Access key, secret access key, like password. Right, for the first time, you can download it. See, download the CSV file. You can download that. Right, only one time it will give you an option to download. So you should save it properly, carefully. Done. Then you can use that access key pair, this one, the latest one. This is the old one which I have created. So go to this Excel file. Okay, grab that access key ID and secret access key. Right. So let me do it anyway. I'll disable it after the session. So let me put them here. This is how you have it. Run again, AWS configure now. Oh, region. If you want to set some region, you can do. Otherwise, you can just leave it. Done. We are done. Right. Next time when you run AWS configure, it will just show you this way. Okay. So it was all set. Fine. So we are also like authenticated to that particular account. Now, okay, we are authenticated, connected to that particular account. Then how to connect to that particular repository, isn't it? There might be so many repositories. So to connect to the repository, you have to do ECR login. The commands will be available here. Let's search it. Go to that service. We have already this one. So I want to push an image here, right? You can select this and you'll see push commands. See here, first command is retrieve the authentication token. You need to do ECR get login, right? And pass that to Docker login command. So just copy it and run this command here. See, login succeeded means you might have got those credentials also added into this file. You can connect to multiple registries. See here, this is for AWS, ECR, this is for Docker Hub. Fine. So this is also login happened. Then if you read it, it will also give you a clue what it should do. It was talking about building an image. Anyway, we are not building now. We are using existing ones. It's asking us to tag it with this name. Which name? This is the name. Let me copy this. This is the old image. Repo. Oh, okay. This is the one. Okay. You have to tag this way. So copy it. Now come here. Which image you want to tag? First, let's see the images. Whatever you want. Let's say Docker tag. I want to tag it, right? See, otherwise I cannot directly do this. I cannot directly do this. Docker push. Go to the ECR. Can I do this? Image doesn't exist. So firstly, you have to tag it with this name. Tag which image? I would like to tag this image. Whatever you want, okay? I'm just tagging this. as a latest, or else if you want, you put your own tag, let's say v1. Okay, tag is done. Images, see. Now if you push, where does it go? Location, it was clearly telling you the registry address. So Docker push v1, already authentication done. So it will push to your registry, private registry.
So like Preeti, we can also put to our like my Docker hub repo as well. So like what is the advantage of using ECR?
Just a second. See, let me show you the image. I'll take up your question in a minute. See repo one. Yeah, v1 and image. Do you see that? So again, the same repository registry. Inside the registry, you have repository. Inside the repository, you have got your image stored. Clear, everyone? Private registries, public registries, got it, all of you? Understood? Any questions? Okay, one question is, what is the advantage of this? Like I told you, right, Docker Hub, every company may not be using it, even though you have paid accounts. Like I told you about the security norms, right? It's a public domain basically for Docker images. That's one thing. Private registries means you have more control over this private registries. Maybe all of your services might be on AWS. You would be also choosing this particular registry. It's specific to your account, right? You have got your own registry. See, this is your own registry. This one is your own registry on your AWS account. This 3127 is your account ID. That's specific to your account. So obviously I'll choose this one. See, this is my account ID.
Preeti, which are the most widely used registries like
ECR.
ECR or even Azure would be the another option basically.
ECR is the one which is more widely used as a private registry. ECR, GCR, every cloud providers provide their own registry services. Google Container Registry, Elastic Container Registry of AWS, Azure's registry, every cloud provider provides you an option to manage your own private registries. If your environment is on a, like on a cloud, this is what we prefer. Sometimes if your environment is on-prem, you may be using Nexus and all, but these are the preferred ones.
Okay.
So now you know pulling and pushing images to any private registries as well as public registries, right? This concept should be very clear because see, we see people, they'll be working on Docker, they'll be building images and all, but they get a lot of confusion when we talk about pushing images or to pull images, right? Understanding this or interpreting this name of an image is very important. Okay, this is always image will be prefixed with a registry address, then repository, then username. Yeah, sorry, then tag name. If it is not prefixed with a registry address means it goes to Docker Hub. It gives you basically the location of your image. If everyone is clear till this part, I'll proceed to the next part.
So like I
Tomorrow,
have out
tell me.
here you're named tag as v1. So basically we don't have any image with a tag as latest, right?
Yes.
Or will latest also point to v1?
No, if you do latest now, if you try to pull latest, it will give you error. Generally, all repositories will maintain an image with the latest tag, means a new version will update here. Okay, but if you don't have it, that's all. You can't pull it. Let's say I try to pull some image with the latest tag. Image is not there. How it can pull? It will not. See? Not found. Manifest not found. It's not available.
Okay.
And also another interesting part. My Docker host is of which OS? This is my Docker host, this EC2 instance. Which OS is this?
Linux.
Amazon Linux 2 instance, which we created on our day one. This is a Linux base. So whatever images I was using here were all Windows based images. I'm sorry. Or all Linux based images, right? Like Ubuntu, whatever I'm using till now were all Linux based because my host is Linux. What if I try to pull some Windows image? Okay, see, let's try to do it. See, this is the one which is some window based image.
You need to have a Windows-based registry.
See, error response from D1, manifest not found, unknown. Your host should be Windows host. Here my host is Linux host, right? This EC2 instance is of which operating system?
Amazon Linux.
Amazon Linux 2, which is Linux based basically, right? So you can pull only Linux based images. You cannot pull Windows. See platform details, Linux. I can pull only Linux images. Yesterday we discussed, right? You can pull only images of the same OS. You can't pull Windows here, right? So if you want to pull Windows images, what you have to do, you can create a Windows VM here and you can pull there. Or else on your local also, you can install Docker. Means if your laptop is Windows, you can install Windows or Mac, you can install Docker here. Let me quickly show you that also. This is just some additional part, okay? Docker on Windows. Okay, install something called Docker Desktop. Okay, you have got Docker Desktop. Okay, you can download it and install it. It's just an exe and run the exe. I have got my Docker Desktop. It provides you a visual interface on Windows. So which containers I can run here?
Windows.
Windows containers, but there is a catch. By default, you can run Linux containers here. Means what it does is, like I told you, Linux is basically developed for Docker is basically developed for Linux systems and it's more famous for Linux. Of course, now Windows applications are also being developed, but generally, okay, so what it does is by default, it will spin up a little Linux VM at the backend, a virtual kind of, and you will be able to run those Linux containers only by default, but you can switch, you can do the switch. Just go here, images. See, already some images, already some containers were there. Okay, you can make a switch. By default, it will be all Linux containers. This is all Linux. If you see,
It would be compatible with even other flavors of Unix as well, right? Like HPUX or Solaris.
Yeah, other flavors of Linux are fine. By default, it will be running a Linux only. But here you will have an option. Just give me 1 second. Can you see this desktop now? You are still seeing the old one. Just a second. I'm trying to share the other screen. Okay. Can you see now the desktop? Okay. See, once your Docker desktop is running, here in the system tray, you will see this Docker desktop running, right? If you right click, you will have an option, switch to Windows containers. Do you see that? Means even though you install Docker desktop on your system, on your Windows machine, by default, you will be able to run Linux containers only because it will spin up a Linux VM at the backend that will be used as host because most of the times we work with Linux containers. But in case if you want to work with Windows containers, you can choose this option, switch to Windows containers. Then you can pull any Windows images and start Windows containers and all. I'm not doing it because whether it is Windows container or Docker, Windows container or Linux container, the commands, everything is same. Only the thing is you'll put those image name changes, right? And that's all. All other commands remain same. Understood, everyone? That's an option there. You just have to know that there is an option available for that, right? So that's how you can run Windows containers, or else launch a Windows VM on your AWS and do it. So coming back, any questions here? Understood? Okay. So Docker images we have got a couple of containers. But now if you see this, why are we having containers exited always? Isn't it? It was just been creating a container and it was exiting immediately. Is that how we want in reality? See, we may be running some applications or services in the containers. I may want to keep it up and running. I just want to terminate it abruptly, right? Stop it abruptly. So how to keep your container up and running, right? So now let's talk about it. Good to go, everyone?
Yes, Preeti.
All right. So yeah, if you want to keep your up and running, you can run the containers in different modes called attach mode and detach mode. First, let's talk about one mode of using it. -ITD mode means interactive terminal detached mode. I'll run Ubuntu. Okay, Ubuntu is already pulled. If not pulled, it will pull. So Docker run Ubuntu. If I do this, it may be exited immediately. So I'll do -ITD. Means interactive terminal detached mode. Means if you run the container in this mode, it's called detached mode or a default mode. If you do this, your container will be up and running till you stop it. You have to stop it. So let me run this. Okay, it shows that's a container ID actually. Docker images anyway, Ubuntu is there. So already this image is there. My interest is running container. Do you see that? Docker PS will list only running containers. It was not showing exited containers from Hello World image. See the image from which this container is created. Okay, Ubuntu and the container name and created 11 seconds ago and it was up from 10 seconds and the name is Hopeful Solomon. If you want, you can change the name. See, it was running from 34 seconds. It will be running till you stop it. That's the importance of Docker run -ITD. You can also list all of them, out of which only one container is running. Right? So this is the mode in which you can start multiple containers. Let's say I want to just start some service and keep it running. You can do this detached mode and your container will be keep on running. Right? That's a detached mode. Just 1 second, I'll close this desktop. Now, if you want to stop it, let me show you one more time. Say up from about a minute. It was keep on running. I want to stop it. How do you stop it? Docker stop container ID or name. Anything is fine. Wherever you use ID, you can replace it with name and vice versa. Okay? Docker stop. Okay, it was stopped. Now, if you see, yes, 3 seconds back it was stopped. Hopeful Solomon was stopped. Later, if you want to start it, Docker start ID or let me use name this time. Say it got started. See, started up and running from 2 seconds. Right? So that's how you can create a new container, stop it, start it, and so on. So let me ask you, what is the difference between start and run command? Have you noticed the difference between start and run command?
Run command, it will pull the image and it will run. Start command, it will start from the stopped container.
Docker pull, sorry, once again, please. Can you come again, please?
Yeah, run command, it will pull the image.
What if image is already there locally?
it will directly run as a container from the image.
It will create a container. Then Docker start.
It stopped container, it will start from, it will get started.
Yeah, basically run command will always remember, it will create a new container. Okay, if you use run in any mode, it may be attached mode, detached mode, it will create a new container. Start will start a container which is already there. You have to provide the container ID. You start a running instance, right? You can't start an image. Don't get confused. You will always run an image. You will always start a container.
Existing ones.
Yeah. You start a container means container should be there firstly. Means it's existing container. You will provide a container ID. If container is not there, the particular ID, how do you use that ID? How do you get the ID? Not vice versa. You can't start an image. Image is a static file. If you remember, I told you it's a static file. You can't start an image. You can't run a container. Right? Also, the terminology is very important. People use again this vice versa. Right? These words they'll be using interchangeably, but use the terminology properly. You run an image. You start a container. Okay, you don't run a container. Okay, you don't start an image. No. So this is the difference. Run will always create a new container. If you want new container, go with the run command. If you want to just start, stop, work with some existing containers, Docker start, Docker stop commands will help you here. This is one way of running the containers in the detached mode. Okay, default mode means you don't get inside the container. You don't go inside the container. You just start them. Means I just want to keep them running. That's all. Then I'll use it. But maybe I want to go inside the container. Maybe I want to do some modifications, some installations I want to do. That's where comes another mode called attached mode or root user mode. Because you become a root user here, you get the shell of the container. Attached mode or root user mode. Minus IT command. Right, let me start another new container in this mode. Docker run minus IT, again Ubuntu. See, do you see that? I get the shell of the container. I'm now not on my Docker host, rather I'm inside the container. Do you see the difference? And this is Ubuntu distribution, not CentOS. So yum will not work here. Right? Whereas on the EC2 instance, yum is working, right? Till now we were using yum. But because it's Ubuntu distribution, like Debian distribution, you don't see yum here. Rather, the package manager for Ubuntu is apt-get. Do you see that? Apt-get is working. Understood everyone what I'm saying? We are inside the container, that too Ubuntu container. So yum is not working, apt-get is working. If you want, you can do anything like another machine, another system. You can list the files, you can do some configurations, you can install using this apt-get, whatever you want, you can do here. Means if you want to do some configurations inside the container, you can use this attached mode or root user mode. Right? Okay, fine. Let's say, okay, I'm done. What configurations we can do, we'll see that also. First, let's see how to come out of this. Okay, I'm done. I just want to come out of this container. You can do exit. That will take you back to your Docker host. Okay, but your container will be stopped. Let's see. See, I just came out. See, this is my host. Yum will work again here. See, whereas apt-get will not work. This is CentOS distribution. Right? So, okay, I'm back. But now if you see, containers also stopped. See, this is the one if you remember. Right, this is the container ID we just came out from. Yeah. So got stopped as you, means it was running as long as you were inside. Once you came out, it was stopped. Let's suppose I want to start, I want to go inside the container, do some configurations, come out, but I don't want to stop it when I leave the container. Then how to do that? Means I just want to come out, but I want to keep the container running. Control P, Control Q. Right? Control P, Control Q will help you leave the container, but still your container will be running. See this one, AF86. This one. It was still running. This is another way to keep the container running when you leave the container. Right? So it will be running as long as again you stop. If you want to stop it, same again, Docker stop.
Priti, how long that exceeded container will be live in that ps-a output?
Till the container is there. As long as the container is there, you can see that output. Means you have to delete the container. As long as it's there on the source, it will show you. Okay. And also I have stopped it. Later on, if you want to start again the same way. Either you have started in detached mode, attached mode. Later on, if you want to stop, if you want to start, the same. Right? Docker stop, Docker start. Right? Let's say, okay, later on, if I want to attach to any container, then Docker attach. What is Docker attach? Again, you get the shell. Do you see that? Right? You go inside, you do whatever you want. If you want to stop and leave, exit. If you want to keep it running and leave, Control P, Control Q. Right? It was running because I use Control P, Control Q. This is the container life cycle. Okay, starting, stopping, creating a new one, attaching, detaching. Tell me this one, what is the difference between Docker attach and Docker run -it? Yes.
Docker run, it will create a new container and it will get a prompt. Attach command, the running container, we are getting to the prompt.
Correct. Already container, existing container, you are attaching to it. Okay, don't get confused. Okay, attach also taking you inside, run IT also taking you inside. Run IT is creating new container and you get the shell of the container. Here, already container is there. You are not inside the container now because later on you may want to go inside some container. So that's where you can do attach. Right? These commands are very simple if you understand properly. Learn them with clarity, get a good grip on these commands. Right? These particularly we use them for dev and test environment because we don't run standalone containers in prod. We use Kubernetes there. But these are really helpful when you want to do debugging, when you want to test your applications before you put on Kubernetes. These are very much required basics.
But how do we make changes in those containers, Preeti? Or what
You
kind of
can go
changes are expected
inside
to be done?
we will talk about making changes, configuring, building our own images in the concept of creating custom images. You can just go inside, actually do whatever you do like on normal machine. You have to get install so and so packages and all.
Okay. How about if I want to browse some application the container, can I do it?
No, you get only CLI for your containers. Like
So
it's not a
basically, it is
full-fledged
like
operating system, no?
it is like unzipping and getting into the details of the files and folders, basically, whatever has been bundled as a container.
This is a container. Okay, once you go it works like a normal machine. I did LS, right, some time back, if you remember. You
Correct.
can do LS, you can install anything there, you can do anything you want. You can create the files and all. We'll look into those operations also. Okay. Let's understand how to work with the containers, then we'll go inside the container. See, this is what I'm talking about. Connection modes, detached mode and root user mode. Let's have a quick recap of this. So connection modes are detached mode and root user mode. Detached mode means user manages from daemon, means I still sit on my Docker host and run them. Here, user manages from the root, means you become a root user of the container. And here container does not exist after the process when the container is over. Here container exists after the process within the container is over. Like when you come out, your container will be stopped. Container could be stopped at a later stage. You can restart, you can stop here also. Docker attach you can use in both the cases. If you want, with whatever container you have, you can do Docker attach. Docker exit, that's what you are leaving the container. Allows control over the container to which user is attached. Right? You were logging as a root user, you are getting the shell, you will have the complete control. Here you will have the control as a Docker daemon. You can manage multiple containers in detached mode, isn't it? Root user mode, only one at a time. But here you can start all the containers and keep them running in the detached mode. And yeah, starting, stopping, this is the life cycle of a container. Yeah, we have few things as well in the life cycle. 1 second. See, you can also delete them. This is also, these operations also comes under life cycle of container. Like, see, these are the containers. If I want to remove any container, Docker RM, container ID or container name. See, you cannot remove a running container because it's running. You can't remove. If you still want, you force remove -F, or else first stop it and then remove it. Okay. Oh, okay, it was stopped. Now you remove it. Right, gone. Docker PS. See. So I can also remove multiple containers. You can always use name and ID interchangeably. I'm using ID. You can put multiple ways this way, or else, okay, this is one way, right? Few are there. You can also delete them, and let me clear it off, or else leave it. If you want to remove images, Docker RMI, okay, you can remove all the images this way. No such image. Oh, yeah. See, I didn't put tag name, means it will consider tag latest, but tag latest is not there, so error. Put the tag, right? It might be gone. See, it's gone. Now remove others also. RMI. Okay, KV3 is the tag. Okay, you can clean up this way. Docker images, still you have bunch of images. You have containers. You can also remove all of them in one go using Docker system prune. See, it is asking for confirmation. This will remove all stopped containers. Networks, if you have created any. Dangling images means unused images and the cache. I want to remove. All stopped will be cleared, but running will not be cleared. See, Docker images were still there because they might be used by something else. Okay, I have got a container which is running, and because this is referencing it, it was there. Dangling images means like not used or else unused images, like you can say not working images, but these were all in good condition. Let me remove them this way. Then my image.
What is
See,
the
this
meaning
was
of
this
dangling
will
you said, Preeti?
means not working images.
Okay. Which are not in use
Yeah.
or which are not working as expected.
Which are not working. Not using means not used means hello world is also not used, right? It's not been referenced by any other container. So not working images. Docker RMI. I don't need to put the tag if it is latest, so gone. Everything is gone. Docker images, Docker PS. Right? What if I delete this image? Docker RMI. That's been referenced by a container, right? See? Unable to remove this container. This container is using its reference. So you can't do it. So what I can do, first stop this container. Okay? Because it's running, you have to stop it, or else force remove. Then delete the image. RMI for deleting the image. Now it is all clear. Docker images, Docker PS. Right, this is the container lifecycle. Creating a new container, starting it, stopping it, right, attaching to it, coming like leaving the container, exiting from it, deleting them, deleting the containers, deleting the images. That's a container lifecycle. These commands should be, you should be having a good command over this a particular lifecycle. So now that we have learned pushing the images, pulling the images, right, tagging the image, these are all we have seen today. Initially pulling, pushing to private registries, right, pull, push, tagging, right, naming a container. Then we have seen running a container in attached mode, detached mode, first detached mode, starting a container, stopping it, attaching a container, right, running it in a attached mode. Yeah, again start, stop, attach, coming out of the container, exit, or else Control P, Control Q to leave the container and keep it running. These are all the things we have seen. We have discussed about registries like a public registry Docker Hub and private registry ECR. Now that we know all of this, okay, we were till now what we are doing, we were just pulling some Ubuntu image, hello world, and have learned this. Now we can talk about going inside the container, making some changes, creating our own custom image. Firstly, why do you need a custom image when you have so many images? How to build your own image? Those are all the concepts coming up. Till now we have seen this one. You have an image. From this we have started a container, right? And we were pulling this image from hub. What if you want to create your own image? That's where Docker file comes in. This is for the next day. Tomorrow we shall pick up from here. Any questions you can ask me.